Millions of people feel stuck in different situations. How would you like to discover how to feel unstuck? Michelle Funke will tell us how. What's so special about Michelle is she's an energy healer and soul coach whose work is rooted in her own transformational journey through grief and trauma. Guided by a deep soul calling, Michelle creates sacred, supportive spaces for others to heal, release, and reconnect with their inner light. So, Michelle, tell us about what does it take for someone who feels stuck to get unstuck?
Heal podcast with Lily Patrascu shares longevity and anti-aging techniques to stay young forever, increase energy, overcome addiction, and live your longest, best life ever. Shared by world's most innovative, alternative, and traditional health thought leaders, healers, and doctors. Discover quantum healing strategies to heal your mind, body, and soul.
Well, that's a very interesting question. I guess it is really about not fixing, but flowing. So when it comes to grief and trauma, we all feel like we should be somewhere other than where we are. And that's where that stuck feeling comes from. And it's really about leaning into yourself and to your own timing and realizing that you're exactly where you need to be and there's nowhere else you need to be. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. Tell me more about that. Like, imagine I'm feeling stuck, okay, right now. Where would I go from here? Because I think that a lot of people are stuck in a certain situation or in a certain kind of like mental pattern of feeling guilty of something that happened or feeling shamed or feeling the failure, basically replaying that memory of that negative, like a negative emotion that they kind of hold on to. It could be
Yeah.
something like, oh, it's his fault, or it's her fault, or it's my fault. And because of that, I can't move on. So, where do we go from here? Like, what's the blueprint for someone to get unstuck?
Well, the blueprint really would be around um, acknowledging where you're at. You can't, you've got to face it, right? So you've got to name your emotions, and we all know that stuff from the biology, like brain work side. But it is honoring where you're at and acknowledging people don't like to feel uncomfortable emotions. They don't like to feel stuck because to them that means they're not progressing. And we're all about progressing, right? And so if you're keeping yourself in this loop, there's something that is anchoring you into that loop. So either it's a story that you're telling yourself, there's definitely energetic blocks that can happen. And, they're all there to keep us safe. But to move forward, you've got to really lean into where you are. And, all got our own inner wisdom and our own medicine within us to help us progress. And really, it's about tuning into yourself and figuring out, okay, where do I want to be? I don't want to be feeling these emotions, but I'm not going to deny them. I'm going to acknowledge them. And then I'm going to figure out what needs to happen. What is the action step based from that leaning into myself? Is it a conversation I need to have? Is it a boundary I need to set? Is it an action step that I need to take? And so, when you kind of lean into yourself, get the wisdom, then you can move forward in an aligned space. But we keep ourselves stuck because there's fear or, there's some secondary payoff to keeping us there, and so we got to really lean into that and face it and work, pick it apart, um, whether it's energetically, mentally, all of the above. We are one system. So it depends on where it's sitting with you. Does that make sense?
Yes, tell me more about, for example, I think that there are people that kind of like never heal, and there are others that do heal. And I think a large part of that is almost like awareness from the person who wants to heal, that it's almost like an awareness of, okay, what is the situation? Because I think a lot of times, let's say if you're blaming someone else for your situation, you could be stuck in that loop for 20 years, for 50 years. Maybe you don't talk to your mother, or different things that happened. And from that perspective, you might actually literally choose to even never move on, to like stuck forever. And I'm wondering, what do you feel needs to happen for someone to kind of like get that awareness of where they are so they can actually see the role they are playing in this?
Well, again, I come back to it's going within, right? So when we're sitting in a blame cycle, we are putting everything on an external person, an external event, kind of, so we're distancing ourselves from it, right? What we need to do is look within. What is my part? What is not my part? Where can I take radical responsibility? Where can I be really authentic? What do I need? What is really true for me? And honoring those things, and it's always a choice. Sometimes we don't get to choose what happens to us or the experiences that we have, but we absolutely always have a choice in how we progress and move on, and that awareness, it's just always coming back to yourself, coming back to your own energy, coming back to your own heart space, coming back to your own body, your own emotions. That's where it's at.
Thank you. I find that actually some people are not open to looking at where it is their fault in that situation and what payoff they are getting out of even a negative situation where they were hurt in some way by somebody else. Uh, what needs to happen, do you think, from a I don't know, catalytic kind of perspective? What needs to happen so someone can see, you can say, their own fault in that situation, to take responsibility and to kind of like acknowledge that, okay, now they have responsibility and now they have a way forward from this. Whereas I find some people are actually gonna be stuck always in this loop of, it's not my fault, it's their fault, it's someone else's fault.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, well, I hate the word fault, to be honest, because I feel like, we all just doing the best that we can with the level of awareness that we have, and that changes as we learn and grow and heal. And sometimes we don't learn and grow and heal, but it is about, making a decision that I don't like being stuck in this loop, whether I still think it's someone else's, fault in inverted commas or not, Um, it's still coming back to yourself and taking responsibility for your own emotions, and even if you're not willing to recognize your patterns just yet, sometimes that's a progress, or your contribution to the situation, that's a process that you go through, as you move through stuff. You will gain that awareness, but it's first, I would say, it starts with this conscious decision of, I don't want to feel this way anymore. So what is my next step? What am I going to do? Where am I going to start to move through it, and move away from this feeling of whatever it is into a more peaceful, kind of aligned, centered, grounded feeling.
Thank you. Do we all know actually what to do to heal ourselves? Or do you find that sometimes something else needs to happen so we can trigger that kind of healing journey to feel unstuck?
Look, everyone knows how to heal themselves, but they don't. Does that make sense? It's not always in conscious awareness. And a lot of people like to put the healing onto other people. So even, coming to me and expecting me to heal them, it's not me healing them. I'm not doing anything. I am just their facilitator, right? And they are the ones that do the work. And that's really important, because you can spend years in any kind of therapy, whether it's energetic or, counseling or whatever it is. But if you don't take responsibility and start taking the steps yourself, then you're going to stay stuck, right? So it is about taking that radical responsibility, and then radical authenticity and doing what is right for you. And I think there's a lot of scripting that goes around, a lot of, messages from community, from religion, from family systems, from all those places that tell you how you should be doing things. And I think that interferes with a lot of people's journeys as well, because they feel like they're not doing the right things according to what they or everybody says they should be doing. Does that make sense?
Yes. So tell us about what other steps are there for someone to, besides then kind of like looking into themselves to figure out what steps they need to take, that their own wisdom kind of whispers to take certain steps. What else should someone do to kind of lead themselves onto a healing journey?
Well, I guess it would be trusting their timing. It would be about not trying to rush through it and get to an end point because that's not what healing's about, right? It's a spiral, and people feel like, oh, I'm doing it wrong or I'm stuck because they come back time and time again to a similar or same pattern or thing that is triggering them or coming up for them. And, it's a cycle, it's not a line. And so you will revisit things over and over again, and each time you do, you're going to kind of meet it differently. So it's really just accepting that like it's a cyclical path, thing that you work through. Um, Also, just allowing yourself to rest. I think a lot of people are on this big quest to heal, and it's like they just want to be moving forward to this end point and think they need fixing, and that's again like not what it's about, um, comparison. Like this other person had a similar experience, and comparing yourself to others. So all these kind of things put blocks in our way, right? Um, so it's really about leaning into your truth, what is right for you. And that's a daily thing, even, kind of, connecting with yourself, checking in with yourself. How are you feeling? When we go through these big life altering experiences, whether it's trauma or grief or whatever it is, we feel it body, mind, and soul, right? It's our emotional system, our mental system, our physical system, and our energetic system. So healing should be taken on in all of those systems, not just in one element of it.
Thank you. Excuse me 1 second. Something is ringing. I have no idea what it is. I just need 1 minute to just check it.
Okay,
Okay.
no problem.
1 second.
I just wanted to, sorry, close the
Okay, I am back.
curtain.
Apologize.
Like the sun has come out. It never shines. Yeah, but anyway.
Okay, very good. Hmm. Okay. So tell us about what steps did you take towards trusting your own healing journey and feeling healed?
Well, again, it was learning to trust myself, right? I think that is one of the biggest things. So, my first real kind of deep grief experience, I was 21. Like, what did I know about life, at that point? Not much. And so, people were kind of telling me things like, you should be over it by now, or, why are you still kind of upset about it, and those kind of things, which made me feel like I was doing something wrong because I should have been at this like make believe point of an expectation that they had, right? And so I suppressed it for a long time, and then you kind of get to a point where you realize, well, I'm still sitting with all this stuff emotionally, physically, it came out for me physically, emotionally, mentally. And then you kind of get to this point where you go, well, I've got to do something different because pushing it down hasn't worked. Pretending it's just going to go away on its own hasn't worked. I've got to start doing the healing. And it's just figuring out what that is for you and what works for you. And different things work for different people at different times. There is no five-step formula. It is really such an individual process. And I think it's something that people have got to feel their way through. But obviously, there's loads of people and practitioners around that can guide them through a much more streamlined process, of figuring out what it is they is right for them in that moment.
Tell us more specific, what do you feel that helped you in your healing journey? And the reason I ask you this is, for example, I remember just a few years ago, I was running events, I was speaking globally, I was publishing books, I was doing property management, and still I think that I was still kind of like afraid of showing up on social media. Like, for example, I would post certain things on social media, and then if nobody liked it for a few minutes, I was like so, I don't know, I felt like so bad that I would actually delete the post, for example. I mean, it's probably a bad post as well. Like it was just like a bragging post of, oh, I'm organizing this event or I'm speaking at this, whatever, I met this person. There's no value for the actual person that might want to see that. Um, but I didn't see that. The only thing I saw was, people don't like me. Okay, so I made that the
Yeah.
story of people don't like me because I had the story for a long time. I had always had the story. And with time, I remember like seeing a lot of like TikToks and they were talking about affirmations, and I started doing some affirmations, and I'm doing them from time to time. But what I am noticing is like a gradual, progressive thing that's happening where I started traveling around the world and meeting a lot of people, and I found that in certain countries, for example, like people really crave to speak to me. Like they really want to talk to me and they really want to like help me with, like wherever I'm staying in different hotels, like help me with anything, to support me with anything. If anything is not working, to, help me, to show me around, to like, and I don't know, I really feel like those little tiny things make me feel like actually I am loved. Actually, I am supported and people care about me. And now I have like a different perception of showing up on social media. Like, let's say I can post something if like nobody was to like it, that would be fine for me because my purpose of like actually sharing that particular thing that I wanted to share with people is accomplished. And
Yeah.
so I'm changing the perspective so much, but I don't even know how I did that. It's like, yes, part of it was through affirmations, part of it was with traveling. All the thing I think worked was actually when I'm meeting a lot of business titans, because I have multiple podcasts. My main podcast is Awakened Titans. And in this podcast, I meet a lot of titans, business titans that are multimillionaires, and at the same time, they have like impact focused investing business, or real estate investing focused on impact. And what I found was that I feel seen by these people. Like I feel that even more at that kind of level, people see me, like they really appreciate me and see me, and they see the great work that I'm doing. And again, I feel that also elevates my confidence, but it's an external thing, it's not like an internal
Exactly.
thing. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering, like, what do you feel about this? Like what I just
So
shared.
I was going to say, like, all of that you've just spoken about is you placing everything on the outside. So it's you are using external validation or lack thereof to justify your own judgment of yourself, right? And your own judgment of yourself was, I'm not liked or I'm not worthy, or all those stories that so many of us carry around. And when we go through a big grief or trauma experience, those stories definitely come up to the front, right? Or they come up big and loud. And so what I would say to you is, yes, affirmations can work and they can be great, but sometimes they are kind of almost like bypassing a little bit, depending on how you use them. Because for many people, if they had to stand in front of the mirror and say, like, look at themselves in the eye and say, I love you, they would so not feel it. It would be so incongruent for them because they do not feel that way about themselves. And so it wouldn't have an impact on them, right? Because they don't really believe it, like deep down inside. So honestly, it's again about coming back to yourself, back to working through your stories. Now, there's lots of ways of doing that. There's definitely energy healing, like working in the quantum space, working with your guides, working with, say the Universal Healing Council of Light, and beautiful quantum healers to come together and help you release those patterns, rewire those patterns. There is kind of mental work that you can do as well to rewire those patterns for yourself and those beliefs. There's so many modalities around that, right? Around your belief systems. That you can do energetically, you can do working with your mind in things like hypnosis or that belief coding stuff. So it's multi-layered and a multi-pronged approach. But whatever you do, you need to get to a point where your story is, I am worthy. I'm worthy of being seen. I'm worthy of posting this information, or whatever, my post on social media. And if no one likes it, that's on them. Because it's about me saying my piece, and I'm okay with that, and then kind of being detached from the outcome. Does that make sense?
Yes, I'm wondering, what would you say is the impact of being like so externally focused on validation in order to almost like validate your self-concept? I'm not sure if that makes sense. In order to like make yourself feel great and to feel like kind of like healed, like you're accepting yourself. What is the what do you call it? The result of you focusing on that external validation versus you being like internally aware of, yes, I am worthy, I am loved, um people care about me, that kind of thing.
You're going to get to a point, inevitably, I would say, where you realize that that's not true, do you know? So something's going to come up and it's going to feel like you've gone back to square one, probably because you never moved forward from square one. Does that make sense? No matter how many times people told you you had. Um, and so you're just going to keep on coming back and keep on coming back to that point. And so for some people, it can be a really big crash, you know, a big emotional crash, a big, you know, breakdown, a big, you know, blowing up of their lives. You know, the more that we suppress things, it's like a little pressure cooker, right? And so then the longer we go and we kind of thinking we've got this, we're pushing it down, we've healed, we've done the things. Um, if it's not true, our body knows, our mind knows, our soul knows, do you know, and it'll eventually, in some way or other, explode, implode, or have a big impact on your life.
Thank you. What can someone do to heal internally? Because you mentioned, for example, speaking to the Council of Light and getting the help of different healers and so on. Is there anything that someone can do by themselves as well to heal internally so they're not seeking for this external validation in order to feel good and to feel healed?
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much information out there that people have access to on kind of just a bit of self inquiry, right? Even if it's just asking yourself some things, some questions, or journaling it down. There's tons of things that people can do. You know, it's just scanning themselves and figuring out where is it being held in my body? What is this tightness in my chest? Is it anxiety? Is it, you know, it's just the self inquiry. It's just getting curious, um, you know, and then be kind of leaning into your own wisdom, because we all know, right? If we do any of those kind of quantum exercises where we connect with our higher self and we ask our higher self, you know, what it is that we should be doing to progress, like we have the answers. They come to us, you know. And so if people had to think of how they would like to see themselves as their most peaceful, most aligned, most grounded version of themselves, you know, if they had to connect and just, you know, visually, mentally kind of imagining what that version of themselves would be doing or how they got there, the answers are there. There's millions of little breadcrumbs that they can follow.
Thank you. How does someone connect to their higher self so that they can heal?
There's lots of different ways. It can be a guided process. It can honestly just be lying in your bed with your eyes closed, taking a moment to be still, because when we're avoiding stuff, we love to be busy, right? We fill every minute of every day and then we collapse into bed exhausted. So we don't have to think about it. We don't have to feel. And so that's kind of what a lot of people do in grief or trauma that are trying to avoid or suppress. And so if you just take a few minutes of stillness and just some deep breaths and stillness and just imagine like you're seeing a movie in your head, or, you know, thinking about what it would feel like or what words you would use to describe that version of yourself. It will come to different people in different ways, you know. But it is about that stillness. It's about sitting and just being with yourself and thinking about what is my ultimate outcome? Where do I ultimately want to be?
Thank you. Tell us about three of your coaching clients that you've perhaps worked with, and how did it work out when they started trusting their healing journey?
You know, self-trust is a big one for people because we've really lost it a lot along the way through various things. And so it's amazing how quickly the transformation happens when people lean into that trust. So I will talk about a client that had a really traumatic experience and believed that everything was her fault. She had, you know, all these stories about she did the wrong thing. And when she kind of really realized that that wasn't the case, you know, that she was just doing what she would normally do, and that you know, that all these perceptions that she had about herself, all these judgments about herself and about the things that she did or didn't do, when those were taken away, and it happened in actually like one or two sessions for her, then it was amazing how she just got all this flood of information coming in to help her progress on her journey. And every kind of time she got these little nuggets of wisdom, she would feel better and better. And if she acted on them, it would progress her even faster. Does that make sense?
Yes, and tell us about what was the physical or the you can say the impact in terms of like results that she managed to obtain aside from like healing. Was there any specific results she managed to get? Like, I don't know, a new husband, more wealth, was feeling better, feeling just
Oh,
well.
she did, right. It changed her life. She was stuck in these really bad patterns, and she was quite deeply unhappy and all that. She was barely getting out of bed. She was barely functioning, right? And then it got to a point where she was out of bed. She was functioning. She was taking really great decisions in her life from a very grounded, centered place. She quit her job. She kind of started going into, she hated her job anyway. So she started going into things that really sparked joy, sparked interest. Her whole life has shifted and changed. It's like she's a whole new version of herself, right? Um, I mean, it's really quite impressive. And not everyone will have such dramatic things. But once you start to work through healing, you will start letting the things that no longer sort of align with you or resonate with you, you will let them fall away and you'll be bringing in these new beautiful things into your life. And it all kind of snowballs and spirals and it's beautiful to see.
Thank you. Tell us about the second client that you would like to share the case study of how did they go about getting unstuck by trusting their healing journey.
Um, oh, let's think. Just gotta think who I can speak about. Um, Right. So, yeah, another beautiful lady, and she just had a lot going on, and she was kind of really stuck in excuses, and I'm too busy um, to do these things or to pay attention to myself. And that had been her pattern for a very long time. And that's what we all like to do, is think we can take these 5 steps and be healed and then move on and keep our lives busy, right? And it was really for her about slowing down and just taking that minute for herself, right? She never allowed herself to sit with herself. She wasn't very self aware. She was doing everything that she could to kind of not connect in with herself because that can be scary. And so some people are really scared of what they're going to find there, but often when people do, and what happened to her is when she did connect in with herself and we did these, kind of exercises to just really help her into her body, connect with her heart space, connect with her higher self, she saw herself in a whole different way. And again, she kind of, ended a relationship that wasn't serving her. She started traveling the world, and doing these things that really made her happy and lit her up. And now, she's living her dream life, and it's amazing to see.
Thank you. And tell us the third case study of a client you've worked with who was stuck and is currently feeling stuck because of trusting their healing journey. And what steps did they take to make this happen?
Again, it was about, it was the man, and he really just struggled trusting himself, because there's all these really big opinions about what men should be like, how they should feel, how they should show up. Um, and him thinking that he had to be strong and all these stories that we tell ourselves, and like if he showed any emotion or cried, then there was something wrong with him, etc. And when he just allowed himself to go through those things, and that took feeling safe, right? That was like a lot of nervous system safety, a lot of those kind of things, really, again, just anchoring into our body. I mean, our body is our vehicle in this life. So it is a really important tool for us to use, right? And it always shows us what's going on for us. So it was really for him physically connecting into his body, figuring out what was going on for him and trust and like learning to trust that. And that, sometimes trust is just built by a succession of experiences. Every time you think, okay, maybe I'm feeling anxious, I should take some deep breaths now, and you do it and it helps, then you learn to trust yourself because the next time you've got that kind of proof, right? That, oh, yes, I knew it was anxiety last time. I took some deep breaths and I centered myself. I'm using very simple examples here. But so it was just about a process of doing that, but also it was over a couple of sessions, that he because but see, he took radical responsibility. He was like, I don't want to be like this anymore. I am going to do the things to make the change. So he took what came up in the sessions and he took it home with him into his everyday life and he did the stuff. And again, he felt this massive boost in confidence, this massive like self-assuredness of like, I know who I am, I know what I feel, and I'm okay with it, and I can figure it out, I can navigate it, I've got this, I've got myself.
Thank you. Tell us why people don't trust their healing journey.
Why people don't trust it? Because they told such crazy things, right? There's all these crazy things like, you should be over it by now, or you need to do these five things to heal, or they think it's like an end destination that they're going to get to this ultimate point, um, and just be totally fine, right? And you do absolutely get to a point where you find this lovely kind of peace or whatever, but I wouldn't say it's an end point because stuff is always going to be coming up, you know. We travel through this life with we are the sum, of our experiences. We always have them, but we get to choose how we carry them, right? Um, and so that's what people don't understand. They think like you're not doing enough healing. They're not allowing themselves to rest because we can't be healing all the time, you know. Um, they think they should be over it by now. They think they need to process it quickly. There's these random made up timelines about how we're supposed to work through things, you know. And we feel if we don't meet these timelines, then there's something wrong or we've done it wrong, you know. So it's all those kind of stories that keep us stuck and keep us blocked.
Thank you. What are the 10 commandments of someone to start trusting their healing journey? What steps should they be doing?
They should be trusting their timing, right? And just kind of accepting that they are where they are and stop trying to rush through it, number two, because kind of there's nowhere to rush to, right? And it's really about feeling it, like acknowledging the feelings. It's that awareness, it's that inquiry about where am I feeling it, how am I feeling it. You've got to feel it before you can heal it, as they say. And then also just allowing for rest because it's can depending on what you're working through, it can be exhausting. So, rest is also sacred and definitely something that's not emphasized enough because we like to be doing things because it feels like we're taking action and moving forward. But resting is also super important. Um, Not comparing yourself and your journey to anybody else's, right? That's like comparison is the thief of joy. We just always will bring in that self-doubt or those kind of stories that we're not where we should be if we compare. Um, Boundaries, doing what is right for you, even if it's not right for other people, super important. Um, and yeah, I mean, again, healing isn't the end point. It's carrying your experiences with kind of grace and ease. That is the ultimate goal.
Thank you. How can someone elevate their frequency or their vibration or elevate the way that they feel so that they can perhaps feel unstuck faster? The reason I ask you this is that I find that when you're stuck, it's almost like you're definitely in a negative feeling or negative story. And then what happens is you do something really tiny, like you go to the grocery store and then someone smiles at you, and all of a sudden you feel better. And all of a sudden you feel already like a little bit unstuck. You feel like, oh, I could take this amazing action to change my life. And then you feel more courageous. And then you go to the gym or you go swimming or go dancing. And then all of a sudden, again, you feel elevated in terms of like how you feel. And I find that from an elevated emotion, I feel like you're more courageous. And when you're more courageous, you're not stuck anymore.
Exactly. And it's really incredibly important not to minimize those kind of micro steps. So when we're feeling stuck, what are we going to do? We're going to not be supporting ourselves well. It's basics. It all comes down to basics always. So when you're feeling stuck or you're feeling a bit not great, you're probably not going to want to go out in the world. Like a lot of people will not be eating right. They will not be getting outside or being in nature, or they will not be doing these things that they know that support themselves. We're all guilty of this. We all do it, right? All the time. But as soon as you take one little micro step, again, it's a decision to do something, right? So whether it's having a sleep, if you're tired, a nap if you're tired, or it's getting outside to breathe some fresh air, or it's getting out from being stuck in your space into the world where you can connect with people, whatever it is for you. Again, it's leaning in, doing the one small thing. It's tiny. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be big. It can be a tiny little thing that'll, switch everything on for you.
Thank you. Tell us about some tiny little things that you did for your personal healing journey that you feel really like were like a catalytic moment for yourself.
Well, I would say it started where I felt like I got the most beautiful hug from the chaplain at the police station, right? And I cannot explain that hug to you, but it was like I just felt it through every fiber of my being. And I decided that I wanted to pay that hug forward, right? So um, I then dove into, which was right for me, all the mental side of things, right? I wanted to learn about it. I wanted to know all about it. I wanted to, you know, figure it out on a very mental level, and which I did. But it was honestly in helping other people, in getting involved in counseling in my local community at the time, that really it was other people that healed me, in a lot of ways, and that's the benefit of kind of a community as well, that is kind of like-minded, and you can learn so much from other people. So honestly, that was one of the biggest things, and that's what's kind of given me the breadcrumbs to move out of kind of a typical kind of counseling role into more energy work and that, because there's so many different elements to healing, right? And the mental space is only just one small part of that.
Thank you. Is there anything in particular someone can do to instantly step into joy and love or another elevated emotion, aside from what you said?
Wow, I think it's a constant thing, right? We're not going to ever feel one emotion. Emotions last for what, 90 seconds? Um, and then whatever we do afterwards to reinforce it or to, push it away is whether it stays or goes, right? And so it's all in the micro steps again. It's all in the little things that we can do to reinforce it. So um, that's back to the kind of boundaries, and it's back to the choosing, you know, what we're going to do and how we're going to move forward, and doing the things that support that, right? Because um, again, joy, love, all those feelings are not actually found in things that exist outside of us. They're found within us. So it's about bringing ourselves back into that state. Um, and that is through things and actions that we do to create that state, right? So forcing yourself to go to a family function where you just, say, don't get on with the people, or they trigger you or whatever, is maybe not the right thing to do. Uh, so it's those kind of things where you're just going to choose yourself. You're going to choose your peace, even if it upsets other people. Even if it's not right for other people, you're going to do what's right for you.
Thank you. What do you feel gets people stuck in the first place?
This preconceived idea of what healing is, and this preconceived idea that you're going to take steps 1 through 5 and be healed. Because then, like, again, it's the timeline thing, it's the comparison thing. They think they should be further, they think they should be feeling differently than they are. They think they should be this, that, and the next thing, instead of just going, I am where I am, and that's okay, you know?
Why do you feel that we always kind of compare ourselves to others and kind of like look at others and say, oh, actually, we're not where we're supposed to be because our timeline appears to be on a lower level than someone else's?
Does it though? Like, not all that glitters is gold, kind of that kind of a thing where we think we know what's going on in other people's lives, or we based on what the masks they wear, right? What they show us. Whether it's on social media or in face-to-face interactions, we only see a tiny snippet of a person's life. We only see what they show us, right? And so that's why comparison is so dangerous, because it's not the truth. Um, and people can say one thing but actually be somewhere else completely. People can say they are healed and they're fine, meanwhile they cry themselves to sleep every night and are like feeling very desperate. It's just you simply not true. So the only truth is what you feel, and again, into yourself, back into where you are. What's happening for other people is totally irrelevant, because we also all individual. We're going to process things differently according to our experiences, our frame of reference, a whole bunch of things, right? And also, different people take different actions. It's like there's not one size fits all, right? So, of course, everybody's going to be on a different level. There is no one level, there is no right level. Everyone's going to be on their own personal level. We all these beautiful little threads that weave into the tapestry, right? And each thread has its place and its pathway and its role, right? We don't all need to be the same thread. Does that make sense?
Yes. And let's say if someone felt stuck and wasn't at a level that they would like to be because they are comparing themselves with others. What can they do so that they can get to the level that they actually desire, that apparently another person already has it?
Yeah. So, again, different things for different people. I guess it is working out where they are now, like writing it down, however they work it out, right? Verbally processing it, whatever way it works for them. And then, connecting into that version. And it's great to have kind of inspiration, and seeing people that you think, oh, I would love to be kind of, that's a great thing. But, it's a very fine line. But then kind of looking at what are those elements that you would like to see in yourself and then how to get there. So figuring out what you need to do, what's right for you. Do you need to exercise more and get your body moving and get all those good hormones circulating? Or do you need to go and talk it out? Or do you need to do all of the above? Or do you need to go for energy healing? Because no matter how much you talk it out or, do the other stuff, do the somatic stuff, it's still not budging, then it's kind of maybe just sitting in your energy field. We should always work energy first, I think, anyway, because it just clears the pathway for the body and mind to follow.
Thank you. Is there anything that someone can do on a personal level to clear the energy, like you said? As in like without the help of other like healers and so on.
Yeah, I mean, we all, whatever they've got to tune into themselves. So, what are their beliefs? What are their values? What are their, kind of get to know yourself. We don't like to know ourselves. We don't go within. We kind of put everything out there, and put it all on other people and other things. But it could be as simple as someone going for a walk. That can shift your, and I mean, look at all the research. It shows that like if you're out in nature, it literally changes your kind of chemical makeup in the moment. If you sort of go to the ocean, if you're near the ocean, those negative ions in the air just like help you. There's millions of ways to support yourself where, it's been researched, scientifically backed, and people can Google that and figure out what works for them. There's so much information out there. They can listen to healing music if that's something that resonates with them. They can, and that's all free, available on, say, YouTube, right? It's not, they can, whatever they feel like they need to do, they could have a list. I love saying to people, you should just write down a list of all the things that make you feel good or make you feel lighter or more at ease or in alignment. And then every day you're going to feel different, right? So you'll have this little toolbox or this little list of things that helps you because every day is different. So some days your energy's high, some days it's not. So you might not feel like going for a walk, but you could definitely lie there and listen to some music for a bit, and it'll have the same kind of effect on a different day.
Thank you. Tell us where entrepreneurs can connect with you.
Sorry, what was that?
Tell us where entrepreneurs can connect with you.
I am on Instagram, it's at Healing with Mish, or my website is www.mishfunke.com.
Thank you.
Follow me for more interviews with world's most innovative health change makers to live your healthiest life ever.